I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, told you, that's why I'm here, to do my job. So we have breaking news. Paul Chen has resigned. Happened this morning at about 3 o'clock. We got the update. I found out at about midnight, but I needed confirmation. I got confirmation. And it coincides with a whole pile of emails that I had, the domino effect of small media like ourselves putting pressure, causing big media and the police to react, which is pretty sad, to be honest. But at least we're doing our jobs and exposing the propaganda arm of the government for what they are. Let's just kind of go over this and take a brief refresher course, and I'm going to take you through a few of the things that I've known already, and I'm going to give it to you in the order in which I was getting all of this information. So I found out about Chen a long time ago on some paperwork. His name popped up. And about a month ago, I got rumor that he had said some pretty nasty things in January. And trying to decipher it, translate it, was quite difficult, and I couldn't really find legitimate proof or software to actually do it properly. So I kind of waited around to see whether or not this was real, and then a few days ago, bang, I got the confirmation. And it was when he actually came out and admitted to what he did. Second I got that, boom, I put an episode together. Once that happened, all of the other dominoes started to come to place. And thank God for the Democracy Watch that they actually put the translator in the page. So I was able to verify everything and show it to you. Everything's in the description, people. Everything. All my homework. So let's just start from the beginning, work our way through this onto where we are now. And I'm going to be telling you some things that a lot of other media isn't going to be telling you. Let's just kind of go from the beginning.
Canadians who farm and fish are now caught in a tariff squeeze by Canada's two biggest markets, the U.S. and China. Retaliatory Chinese tariffs are now in effect against billions of dollars in key Canadian exports. The biggest hit will be on canola, a key cash crop on the prairies. China is slapping a 100% tariff on canola oil and related products. It's taking effect with canola prices already low. China is also targeting...
Now, for all those people out there, oh, American tariffs are way worse. The Chinese tariffs are way harder on the Canadian economy and on a larger portion of the workers. So pass it around, listen carefully, and you'll understand.
Canadian seafood, 25% tariffs there that cover 40 products fished on Canadian coasts, including crab and lobster. There's also a 25% tariff on Canadian pork sold to China. The Chinese tariffs are all in retaliation for Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. They add to the economic disruption and uncertainty for this country just weeks before more U.S. tariffs are set to hit. So we have complete coverage of the story for you this morning.
For those in central Canada that aren't aware, there are steel plants on the prairies. You're not the only ones getting hit. But we're also getting nailed on the prairies, and we're getting nailed on the east and west coasts as well. So it's not just the big voting centers that are getting hit, although the mainstream media has been trying really hard to hide all of this. It's actually hard putting clips like this because I want the video clips because it's a little bit more entertaining and seems more trustworthy to people when they see the actual footage and newscasters say it. Now, then we've got, of course, the Handong craziness that went on. So let's deal with this.
Let's pick this story up with CTV's Colton Prail in Ottawa. So, Colton, good morning to you. Let's talk more about candidate Paul Chang. Carney couldn't have been more clear today that he is sticking by Paul Chang, saying that they accept his apology. Tell us more about what you're learning, and could this potentially be a problem for the Liberals?
I think it definitely could. We've seen the ferocity with which the Conservatives have been pressuring the Liberals to drop this candidate, the number of media commentators outside of the partisan bubble who have been questioning why this candidate wasn't dropped, strategists doing the same thing. I mean, we are on, yes, the comments happened in January, but we're on day 4 now of these comments being in the news cycle here in politics and in Canada. They are now making their way all the way to national headlines. You know, this is an issue that the Prime Minister and the Liberal leader
running the story, and the only reason they did is because small outlets like myself and others were getting it out there. Some of my other social media, I was getting tens upon tens of thousands of views, and everybody was going, that can't be real. There's no way that can be real. And I said, verification, I've got it all on the YouTube channel. A lot of people just prefer their news in a clip. That's fine. I put all the evidence. Everything's in the description below. Now, the documents that you're going to see, a lot of the media isn't talking about. Now, a few of these are going to be my personal emails that I get from Sam Cooper, the Bureau. I'm on his speed dial. Anything goes out, I get it. Now, this was sent out by the Commissioner, Michael Duhaime, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. It was sent to, I should say. And they wanted the police to start looking into what the heck was going on. And they reacted right away, which was good, but yet bad. So then I've got this email. Where am I here? The Bureau's exclusive investigation finds senior Chinese official allegedly instructed journalists in Toronto to support the rise of a federal politician. Now, this is actually old information that he's rewrote with additional information on it. So again, this is stuff that I already have in files. Like I talked about that 1.5 terabytes. I collect a lot from Sam Cooper. He opens up a lot of doors and windows for other journalists, people who are curious and want to look into it. So, in light of newly revealed comments by Liberal MP Paul Cheng, suggested that a Conservative candidate wanted under Hong Kong's national security law could be taken to Chinese consulate to claim a bounty. The Bureau is reposting at this exclusive investigation, originally published on August 3rd, 2023. Now you understand how long I've had all this information. I've been collecting this for a long time. We believe this story, based in Canadian security intelligence, CSIS documents, and corroborating interviews, provides critical context for understanding the broader landscape of transnational repression and election interference in Canada. Questions surrounding Prime Minister Mark Carney's decision to not revoke the candidacy of Paul Cheng, a former police officer tasked with inclusivity and Chinese community relationships in the community, are now under scrutiny, are drawing international attention, including a report this morning from Newsweek. Paul Cheng's comments in January suggested that Joey Tay's election would raise significant controversy due to Tay being wanted under the Hong Kong police arrest warrant, were reported by Ming Pao in connection with the January meeting attended by Chinese language journalists. Tay, a pro-democracy activist, is wanted under Hong Kong's national security law for operating a YouTube channel in Canada that criticizes Beijing's crackdown on civil liberties and its political takeover of Hong Kong. It goes on and on and on. And the U.S. Department of State releases this right afterwards. U.S. sanctions 6 individuals for undermining Hong Kong's autonomy. And now this brought a big smile to my face. Beijing and Hong Kong officials have used Hong Kong national security laws extraterritorial intimidate, silence, and harass 19 pro-democracy activists who were forced to flee overseas, including a U.S. citizen and 4 other U.S. residents. Today, the department published the latest Hong Kong Policy Act report And the security certified that Hong Kong does not warrant differential treatment under U.S. laws as it did before its July 1997 handover. Now, remember, I was explaining to you this, how Hong Kong was handed over to China. And since then, tens of thousands of people have disappeared. Vaporized, people. Vaporized. Gone. Never to be seen again. It goes on, and then it lists off the names. All but one of these names I have on my lists. 3 of these names pop up often, and one of them pops up very often. Now, I'm still working because all of this has kind of happened. Like I said, at 3 in the morning, I had confirmation that this had finally gone through, that yes, he is definitely quitting. So I can start to chase more lines and build more story from there. Moving along the timeline, we had then Mark Carney. Yes, Carnage Carney. With these infamous words.
Kenzie Gray with Global News. Paul Chang, one of your candidates in Markham, talked about turning over a conservative candidate to the Chinese consulate to receive a bounty placed on him by the Chinese Communist Party. Can you explain why you've not dropped him as a Liberal candidate?
Thank you for the question. Look, the comments were deeply offensive. This is a terrible lapse of judgment by Mr. Chang. He has apologized for those comments. He has apologized directly now to the person that he mentioned. Apologized directly to him yesterday. I've spoken to Mr. Chang as well over the course of the weekend to understand his position. He is a veteran policeman. Mr. Chang is a veteran policeman with more than a quarter century of service to his community. 28 years of defending rights in this community, and he will continue with his candidacy going forward, having made those apologies very clearly to the individual, to the community, and moving forward to serve. Alors, les commentaires.
Now, there's a lot of dead ends that are happening through all of this that I'm having a hard time kind of figuring it out. We know that all this stuff obviously was happening in real time. But with the Chinese tariffs and no action being done, and the media hiding it, there was a lot of other things, that little stories, other investigative journalists and other people like myself who are diggers, who we don't know everybody. And it's hard for us to get a lot of our stories out. Now, all of my information I ended up finding pretty much on my own. But I have come across other people's stories. And some of them are like, oh, Carney's under investigation by the police. This is clickbait, people. You got to really watch out for that. I don't like saying bad things about independent media, but really, there's a lot of it out there. A lot of it out there. A person really has to be careful on what they're watching. If it says something really extreme on it, chances are, I'll put it to you this way: if it says something on it, like Putin's gonna invade Canada, or whatever, Mark Hardy's under arrest, going to jail, being charged. If by the end of the show you don't see that, give that a strike. And after 3, don't give these guys the time of day. It's not worth it. There's a lot of other better media outlets out there that you can go to. Now, like I said, I hate saying that, but there's getting to be more and more and more clickbaiters out there, and it drives the guy bonkers. Because I do like to use other media outlets for sourcing. And over the last 4 months, I've had to drop a pile of them just because of the fake news. And luckily, I have to fact check. I sift everything. And like I said, there's a few books that I've read. There's a process that you go through in order to fact check. It has to be verifiable. And then if it's opinion, I say it's an opinion. But I put all my proof down below. All my evidence is down below. Except I'm not giving away things I'm still working on, because there is a lot of thieves out there. we're going to get back to more of what Carney's BS. This man is so full of himself. It's...
I should say the Conservative candidate has come out and said that apology is not sufficient, and that previous to this, he was speaking with the RCMP about his safety. So I'm just wondering why you feel comfortable continuing with a candidate that was parroting Chinese Communist Party talking points to try and attack a political candidate.
Look, this is a person of integrity who served this community, his community, as a senior police officer for, as I said, more than a quarter century. He's made a terrible lapse in judgment. He's made an apology for that. It's also an individual who has family in Hong Kong. He's under no illusions about the situation there, the situation in broader China. He's made those apologies. He's made them directly to the individual concerned. He's made them directly to me. He has my confidence. Thank you. En effet, c'est...
So there have been, from what I can find, there's like over 20 people in Canada who have been what they call bagged. It's where they literally get picked up, thrown in a bag, put in a van, and they get disappeared, shipped to China. 2 of them have been in the media. I don't want to name any names because, again, this has to deal with future stories that I'm going to be working on. But just so people know, the whole fact that he thinks that a simple apology is enough is complete, like, that is foul. It reeks to high heaven of collusion and interference. No, he wouldn't have done anything. He was hoping the media would keep this down. And like I said, thank God the small media outlets and you viewers out there is what makes our voices loud. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe because it's important to get it out there, to share it, because they can't stop the storm of social media. They can't stop the storm of truth when it's spread through this new digital age. This technology could set us free if it's used properly. I'm going to go to a little wee bit further ahead in this goofball's presser. God, this guy is such a sellout.
Judy Chin, CTV News. Mr. Carney, I'd like to press you a little bit more on Paul Chang. He lives in a riding that is 70% diverse, people of color. Half of that are people of Chinese ethnic origin, and of that population, about 20% are from mainland China. The question that people from Hong Kong have asked me to ask is whether or not you are putting appeal to those voters who may support the policies of China ahead of the democratic rights and safety of dissidents who have called Canada home, and mainly Hong Kong democracy activists who now live in Mr. Chang's riding?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Stand foursquare for rights, foursquare for our position, our very strong position vis-a-vis China, respect for Canadian citizens, all rights of Canadian citizens.
Now, we know he's lying through his teeth because he's the guy, he's the reason that when they put the Emergencies Act in place, they chose the path to shut down and close bank accounts of anybody who even donated to the cause. This man is a dictator. He is a power-hungry piece of crap banker. He's everything that the left despises, but for some reason is going to be the savior in the liberal books. You literally can't make this stuff up. Stupid is what stupid does.
Irrespective of whether they hold dual citizenship or not, to be absolutely clear. And Mr. Chang has
Look how red he's getting.
Long history of service to that community, history of protecting those rights. Mr. Chang is well aware of these issues, including having family in Hong Kong.
How can he be an effective representative for them when they no longer trust him after he said this? The question, as you know, Mr. Carney, you know that Canada has executed 4 Canadians this year.
China.
You know that there are human rights activists in China in detention right now. How can Mr. Chang, how can your party keep him as a candidate knowing this context?
Mr. Chang has apologized for his comments. It's a lapse of judgment. He apologized for he's apologized for his comments. He's apologized directly to me. He's apologized directly to the individual. He has a long record of service. He's going to continue his candidacy. Okay.
Now, Ruby Dalla. Booted from the party, zero evidence. You couldn't dig anything up on her other than what I think I was the only media outlet that actually went back, because I remembered her, and exposed that she did have a nanny thing that went on. And it ended up that there was a settlement. I'm not going to say good or bad. I really don't know. From how it seemed, it looked like she was in the wrong, but it looked like it obviously was blown out of proportion. So they did like a paid settlement and moved on. C'est la vie. Chandra Arya. No evidence. First kicked him out of the Liberal leadership race. Then, at the last minute, kicked him out of his seat in Nepean, in which Carney then stole and is now running in that riding. Zero proof of anything. Yes, he's done some stupid things because he voted for all the Liberal policies, but all in all, he did something right, which was try to bring attention to the Calistini takeover that was happening in his party, which I think is why Ruby never got in. These people are owned by China. Period. Now, all of this goes down, and then in the wee hours of this morning, I think it was like 12:15 after midnight, I get this. RCMP confirms it's looking into alleged foreign threat following Liberal candidate Paul Chang comments. Ottawa, the Royal Mounted Canadian Police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police confirmed late Monday it is actively reviewing the controversy surrounding Liberal MP Paul Chang's alleged remarks and appeared to endorse delivering a political rival to the foreign government in exchange for a bounty. In a statement to the Bureau, which is Sam Cooper's newspaper, his news outlet, the RCMP said foreign actor interference, including instances of transnational repressions, continues to be a persuasive threat in Canada. The RCMP takes such reports and allegations seriously, in close partnership with intelligence, law enforcement, regulatory. It's the police. Now, personally, I think this is all. It's hard to say. When I first read it, I was thinking, okay, the media probably won't tell anybody about this, so I was gonna report it anyways. But then I knew more was gonna be happening. So I haven't slept all night. I've been up waiting for reactions. All my alarms set. Google, email, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, is this another cop thing where they're just going to say one thing in order to, ready, fetch the ball. And then lo and behold, like I said, 12:30, 1 o'clock, boom, I got wind that it sounded like Chang was now going to drop out. And I waited, and then at 3 o'clock in the morning, I had confirmation. Right from Paul Chang. And it states, for the past 3.5 years, it's been the greatest honor of my life to serve the people of Markham Unionville as their member of parliament. Every single day I served with integrity and worked to deliver results for the people in my community and deliver people to China. No, I'm just kidding. That last part I'm just joking about. I'm proud of what we have achieved together, and I remain deeply grateful for the trust that China has placed in me. I did it again. For the trust placed in me. My bad. This is a uniquely important election with so much at stake for Canadians as China would like to take over and finish with your country. No, I did that again. See, damn it, it's a habit. It's a habit. I read so much and I know there's so much interference. As the Prime Minister, Team Canada and as the Prime Minister and Team Canada work to stand up to President Trump and protect our economy, I do not want there to be distractions in this critical moment. That's why I'm standing aside as our 2025 candidate in our community of Markham Unionville. He had to leave. Carney didn't even have the kahunas to kick him out. Now, there's a bit of a debate going on about this, and I got to do some more reading on it, but a lot of this stuff is like privy. You don't really understand all the rules until you get all the clearances, and then they give you the rules, and then you got to sign off again on again and again and again as you kind of learn all the rules to it. So there's some things that as a Canadian, as like a Russian citizen, Canadian citizen, Chinese citizen, we're not allowed to see because it's a democracy. Right. Anyways, we're not allowed to see that stuff. So, but there's some people, other politicians who I kind of been doing some thread checks, posting thread checks, and even in the past, it seems like there's rules and regulations in there. Well, like if Polyev would have signed over, obviously we can tell by how Jagmeet is talking about it, how, Elizabeth isn't saying anything. That could be because she's drunk and passed out and, railed up for 3 weeks. I have no idea. But she's not saying anything. The bloc hasn't necessarily dived into it other than to say that it's embarrassing. And then he's doing the same thing Jagmeet is. Why aren't they saying his name? What happened? Like, why aren't they literally... There's only one person who turned down the security clearance who's actually able to say everything. And I'm wondering if that does have... If those rumors are true from what I'm reading, that somehow they're so sticky about the wording in this NSICOP that you are screwed. So even Carney may not be able to actually say anything. But then I listen to what Carney says and I go, well, that's horsepucky. Because first of all, he's the prime minister. He doesn't have to sign the damn NSICOP. He's already got free range of all the information. Now, if he would have been like Pierre and signed the NSICOP and looked at it and then become the prime minister, he still has to abide by the NDA. So it would screw his entire tenure. It would screw his entire leadership if he signed that paperwork. So he's not going to put all of his marbles in one bag and throw it off to sea. He's throwing a marble out at a time, going, okay, wait a minute, is that going to sink or am I going to get that back? Am I going to be able to talk about this or not? So like I said, there's a lot of rules and regulations, but the way I'm looking at it right now, just logistically, Carney can see everything. He's already the prime minister and he never signed off on the NSICOP. So that's not true. But you can definitely tell by watching all of the other leaders and how they're talking about it, especially the words they use, or should I say lack of words they use, shows they are under an NDA. And it's only Polyev who says everything about it. Literally, he just throws it right out there for what it is, the truth. Like this guy said, please somebody go kidnap him and take him to the consulate so they can ship him to China to get executed and you're going to get a bounty. Because that's pretty much what the guy said, which is illegal. There are charges. There's three for sure. Like I said, I was looking, there's like up to about 20, depending on how deep this goes, especially if they find, once they look into it and they get translators going, who knows? I don't speak Mandarin, right? So I can't read all that documentation, but they'd have to find that. And then once they start digging into it, maybe they'd find more. But again, we know the police are compromised. So it is what it is. So then he goes on to thank his family and all the rest of this jazz, blah, 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 bullshit. And I just want to play a little bit of this clip. This is from yesterday. I just think it's interesting on the lack of media. This was like really the only person that they interviewed. This was one of the longer ones. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's embarrassing that just like the Chinese tariffs, the media, the propaganda arm of the government isn't talking about it.
I agree with Mark Carney that those comments were deeply offensive, but I also take it you do not agree with his decision to say the apology is enough. I mean, what are your thoughts on what Paul Chang said and what he said in his defense?
Well, my speculation is this whole Paul Chang issue, which we brought up to the English press, is basically a tip of the iceberg of what we've been looking at long time, is foreign interference.
And by the way, I can get global news all around the world. I always try to find the closest to like Canadian first, and then outsource from there. Unless literally it's so bad that you can't find anything here, and then in order to expose our media, I've got to go to outside sources. But this story has broke the internet. It's talked about all across mainstream, all around the world. There are a lot of countries right now that are taking another couple steps back from Canada because of it. I haven't checked out the dollar yet, but I'm assuming our dollar is going to be falling even more.
And also the transnational repression, which is pretty obvious by having that $1 million bounty on Joe Day. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about two issues here.
Look at the size of the diaper on that one guy's face. Holy.
The TNR, transnational repression, is pretty obvious. It's evidence proof that this Joe did receive that $1 million bounty. But the thing about Paul Chang was that, sure, it may be a joke, it may be misspoken, or it just may be a grave error, but that doesn't explain the fact that why a sitting MP and somebody running for federal election would come out and say this to the press, albeit as a Chinese language press.
So Joe Tay has a bounty on his head. It's for 1 million Hong Kong dollars, as I understand it, which is about 170,000 Canadian, and it's for his activism opposing the what's happened in Hong Kong since the Chinese takeover. The comments from Paul Chang, I have racked my brain, Chuck Kwan, to try to figure out what he was doing, because he's an MP, he's a police officer for decades. All the things Mark Carney said about him making him a good candidate are also reasons why he should have known better than to make those comments. I mean, do you think it was just a joke? Do you think he's complicit with trying to, push a Chinese? How do you view it? I can't wrap my head around it.
My first reaction was shock, and my second reaction was surreal. But I think deep down you have to look at it. The fact that there is a lot of China interference, and we cannot rule out the fact that this is something that's been affecting him as well. Mm-hmm. And he said what he said because he firmly believes it. What's more interesting is that
I like that. He's trying to be really nice, but you see him, he was even shaking his head no. Mainstream's trying to make it look like, well, come on, it was just a mistake. I mean, we're this is a nothing burger, it's not, and he's like, no.
He's speaking to a Chinese language press conference.
Right.
And no, in a sense, he's hiding behind what we call a language,
barrier,
shield. In other words, the problem is that a lot of things being said to the Chinese press or being exposed in the Chinese press are not reported by the English Canada.
And like I said, I've known about this for over a month. And for me to try and get it deciphered and what's real, and then I was getting some like bad, and I couldn't find it, and I was finding kind of other things, and I'm like, is this what they meant? And I'm sorry, where I live right now, I don't have anybody that speaks that language or reads it, so it's a tough one for me to do. And hey, if you do speak languages out there and you ever feel like giving me a hand, hey, leave a message in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because we need to stick together. We got to be able to expose this stuff. Canadian isn't just English. It's not just French. It's not just Mi'kmaq and whatever. It's Ukrainian and whatever else. We're made up of everything, and some of these diasporas are incredibly large, like Hindu and the Sikh and there's a lot of languages, and there's a lot of interference coming in. It'd be nice to be able to have those contacts.
Or French Canada. So in that sense, he felt safe that he could say this kind of thing. Because he was at that point was trying to tell people not to elect Joe Tay because he's toxic in terms of being anti-China, and he's going to be a bad news in the parliament if you get him elected. So I think that's his message. So he's using this whole sort of whether you're pro-China or anti-China to be a black mark on Joe Tay. So I would say that every time you drag China into our national politics, then you risk offending people or worse, what I call committing something that is
Right.
egregious.
So,
And now you got to remember, literally from the moment this came out, the second Carney opened his mouth and said, "Oh no, it's all okay," he said it's sorry, it's all good, and he let it go. He was working for the Chinese government because he was saying, "No, it's okay that people say that." Which means if you say that to somebody, they could actually go and do it. That's okay. As long as when you're done and they're shipped off and they're executed, you say sorry. That's not how it works. That's absolutely disgusting. That you have zero moral fiber if you think that you can apologize and that's it. That's the end of it. Joe Tao didn't accept it because he's already known that he's got to look over his shoulder all the time because he's pro-democracy. And then you get somebody like Chang who's going to purposely use it against him like that in such a obvious manner, at least in their language. And then Carney's backing it up. No, just say sorry. It's okay. You're allowing the interference. You have now become a puppet of China. You literally just proved you're working for China, which I think he is working for China. That's my opinion. I keep showing you evidence. You go with it from there. As far as I'm concerned, the evidence is there. He's corrupt. He's corrupt. We know for sure half this party is infiltrated from the WEF. We know that there's 11 guaranteed. I've got a list of 26. Now I'm at 28 in the last 2 days. I've added 2 more. And same with the actual party. Looking at the party, I was at like 40. I'm at like almost 50 now. The numbers are growing at an exponential rate.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding your analysis of it here, Chuck, that you think this was brought up as a way to undermine Joe Tay's candidacy by saying, look, you can't vote for this guy. He's got a bounty. You don't think Paul Chang was really suggesting he be kidnapped, brought to the consulate, and turned in for the money? Am I understanding you correctly?
I don't think he's foolish enough to think that it's going to happen. But whether it's a joke or not, whether it's an off-the-cuff remark, a firm belief or not, that doesn't matter. The fact that you are a Canadian, you're a sitting politician, and you can say this, that to me is shocking.
You know, you and dozens of other groups have signed a letter calling for Paul Chang to be removed as a candidate. Hong Kong Watch issued a letter to the RCMP commissioner suggesting that maybe these comments could border on a crime. I was thinking back to the last time you and I spoke. It was you and Kenny Chu, the Conservative candidate for Richmond-Steveston East, or Steveston-Richmond East, who had been a target of foreign interference, and you're both so happy because it was the findings of the OG report and they were now taking it seriously, and it feels like today you're back in that frustrated place before that. I mean, where do you think things stand today?
Well, as I told you earlier, I thought that the OG report is, to us, a little bit of a whitewash.
Yeah.
She signed no blame. She sort of say basically maybe 1 or 2 writings might be effective. But in general, the election is not affected.
Right, it was the foreign interference registry you were happy about. I confused the two, if I remember correctly. Right? Sorry.
Foreign registry, this is something that we've been asking our government to do.
By the way, there's 0 names on that.
To establish foreign agent registry. So in that sense, we were happy that Madame Oak had, suggested that, that should be established.
And if you watch my previous episodes, you'll see how I expose that. I even show one interview where Young comes out with Sam Cooper, an ex-retired CSIS agent, and I can't remember the other lawyer, and they pretty much say that the whole thing's bullcrap. What good is a foreign registry? So Hogue said, okay, we're going to do this. She didn't put any guidelines in. She gets up and walks off the stage, doesn't take any questions. And then you get a registry that is sitting in limbo with no names on it, and it's not even written up to have any effect. So how do you put people on it when it hasn't got any contingency on what it takes in order to be put on it? The whole thing's a farce. It's a cover-up. These people are bought and paid for by China. I'm telling you, our system is corrupt.
It always back to the kind of thing that we're dealing with. There's foot dragging in the government. There's a lot of work to be done to establish foreign agent registry. And it's too late now for this election. Mm-hmm. And this is something that we are now, quite worried about.
And he's absolutely right. Why this registry should have been worked out. The 11 people should have been named and all of the information laid out. Who knows? Maybe 2 or 3 of them. Maybe. Well, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of them are completely innocent and they have no idea. Maybe all 11 of them are complete spies. Who knows until we see it? We have the right. These are elected officials. This isn't national security on an outside base. This is national democratic security. It has to deal with our officials and infiltration in our government. This is stuff that the people should have 100% transparency to. Period. Cut and dry. That's just the way it should be. But we live in China. Our country is completely destroyed in the last 10 years. It's embarrassing. It literally is embarrassing. Well, there you have it, you guys. Paul Chang. And now we'll see how the day progresses. And we'll see how Carney toots his horn today. We'll see. Maybe he's going to hide like he did on the weekend when all this first broke. Who knows? You never know with the Liberals. They're out spinning. They'll have their little media hounds in the background. And they'll be whispering things for them to say and how to control the narrative. And I know that we're being heavily censored. More and more of us have been, us small media are getting hacked. I noticed it on, my TikTok got hit really hard. Even like a lot of just the likes and shares and reposts are getting knocked off. I don't know what that's all about. And then a couple other platforms. And then even my YouTube here, I got a lot of bots that have been kind of going on there. They say some pretty stupid things. And then when you look them up, they're dead-ended. They're just hit pieces. They're bots. That's all they are. I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I'm a Canadian. You're not going to hurt my feelings. You're not sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not going to, whatever, buddy. You're not going to hurt my feelings. It's all good. I hope I kept you guys informed. I'm glad I could break this all for you. Like I said, you guys be very careful about some of the media outlets that you're watching. There is a lot of clickbait out there. And one's got to be really careful. One's got to be really careful because you never really know what you're going to run into. And it's a waste of time when you're giving these people credit. They end up making, they make money off it, right? When after they get so many thousands and thousands of viewers and that clickbait keeps kicking in and staying in and yeah. Anyways, my screen just went dead. Look at that. And I had some internet issues here yesterday on YouTube. Kind of wondering what's been going on. Come on. I have to redo this video. Bad enough I gotta edit it. What's going on here?